This tune is based on the notes B, B, C, 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 C.
I was in a pub one night when the door opened and a man with a crazy grin loped in.
"Look who it is," says the landlord. "Tup Jack," and all the men around the bar sniggered behind their hands. "I tell you what," says the landlord. "Jack, do you want to play that game again?" "All right then." So the landlord turned to the till and he opened it up and took out 2 coins, £1 and a 50p piece, and solemnly he placed them on the bar in front of Jack. "Now then, Jack," said the landlord, "you have to choose. Which one do you want? The £1 or the 50? Jack looked from one coin to the other, and then he said, "I'll have the 50 if you don't mind." "Not at all," says the landlord. "Take it." And so Jack put the coin into his pocket, turned and shambled out of the pub, and all the men doubled up and laughed and shook their heads.
I followed Jack outside. There he was, standing at the bus stop in the rain. I said, "Jack, why'd you take the 50? He shuffled. He shifted from foot to foot, and then he said, "Well, it's like this, you see. If I ever took the £1, they'd never do it again."
This week on Double Yellow, Aris Thomas, David Gray, A Close Encounter with a Donut, and we go caravanning in North Wales.
Up to the road, I've been staring out the window most of the morning. I watched the rain claw at the glass, and a vicious wind blew hard and fast. Should have taken it as a warning, as a warning, a warning, as a warning.
Nightmare. Doors.
that I'm involved in the arts. I'm on the inside, so I think that's going to make kind of a massive difference. I mean, I'm not interested in being kind of a normal presenter.
I think the fact that we all actually work in the arts is really, really crucial.
Because you say you're an actress, and they go, oh, do you get any work? And oh, have you been on EastEnders? And you say you're on an arts programme, and they go, And you say it's for BBC Two when they've left the building.
I think the programme, will be diverse, it will be distinctive, it will be humorous.
The show can really make that connection between what goes on in life and the arts.
I might just like your painting because it's red.
The first piece I did was actually very interesting. It's a young guy who's actually following in the footsteps of Turner, and this guy frames up the shot, and he just sits there and he looks at the view, and hopefully people are going to come along and just sit there and kind of look at the view, and it's as simple as that. It's a beautiful concept, and it just really works, and it's just a lovely, lovely idea, and it's a very lovely, very simple film.
Excellent. Nice to see you. So, where did you find this gallery, the caravan, then?
I found it through Freehouse, just the yellow pages.
Okay, we're looking at a view now, which is kind of typical Turner. So did you select your views and then kind of manoeuvre it very carefully, or was it kind of at random kind of thing?
The views can kind of be quite at random, well, not at random, but they're kind of a mixture between paintings and lay-bys, kind of where the two merge, and then the actual framing up can kind of be a bit more specific, getting the height right and the kind of angle right.
I mean, are people kind of like really bemused, or kind of, they're thinking, what the hell are you doing, or are they really kind of like accepting and kind of curious as to what they think, really?
Yeah, I mean, people are generally positive.
Yeah.
They recognise the caravan and kind of quite into that.
No, exactly. I mean, that's why I think it can work, because people can kind of, exactly, relate to that.
Yeah.
Even on that level of kind of touring or travelling or being a tourist.
Yeah.
And then this is an added thing, really.
Yeah, definitely.
To come in and look at the view and kind of, share that sort of Turner moment, really.
that moment. Yeah.
What do you think?
Very nice.
Quite good, isn't it?
Yeah.
With my own fair hands.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I've never made it before. I think my mother would be proud of me.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I've been living in the UK for a while. Some of the local food customs struck my imagination, as, for example, the synthetic donut. This peculiar item of contemporary pastry is the subject of tonight's program. One day, as I walked by the display window of a bakery in Cardiff, my attention was caught by a very strange type of cake, the synthetic donut. First, I analyzed the cake. As we can see on this three-dimensional animation, it is based on a long donut slitted in two equal parts. It owes its name to the synthetic cream used as a filling. Using light materials and my research tools, I began to work on the synthetic donut. The specimen you can see on the screen is 2 weeks old, therefore tough enough to resist the strain of the experience. As you have certainly guessed by now, this project aims to build a flying synthetic donut. Here is the field in Cardiff where I am going to test the flying synthetic donut. I have a squadron of 3 units. First try. Second try. And third try. This test makes clear that the reduced autonomy of the flying synthetic donut is a major obstacle to commercial developments. That's it for today. I thank you for your attention and wish you a very good breakfast.
When you were at uni, what made you decide to go solo rather than starting a band?
Well, I had a band at university.
Oh, you did?
And that was the first band I'd had that played my stuff. So I wrote the songs and the band played them, but it was sort of a collection of mates, really. I eventually met my manager. He was more interested in me, because it was a bit of a sort of odd collection of people. It wasn't exactly the ultimate Dave Gray experience. I think everyone has let someone down. I definitely let the rest of the band down. It was kind of, see you then.
Friday night, I'm going nowhere. All the lights are changing, green to red. Turning over TV stations, situations running through my head. Looking back through time, you know it's clear that I've been blind, I've been a fool.
You have an opportunity to say something. I think music is such a powerful thing. You don't necessarily have to say anything profound to make a great piece of pop music. I mean, that's obvious, isn't it? But I try and get the most out of the lyrics that I can.
And what do you do? Do you notate it? Do you record it immediately? What happens?
Notate it? That sounds complicated.
I know, it does, doesn't it? That's my big word for the day.
I don't think I've ever notated in my life. I rotate it.
That was in my head. I'll throw that in. That sounds like I know what I'm talking about.
You've gone way too deep for me already. I write it down with a biro on a piece of paper.
That'll do.
And then I change it around and, you know, until I'm sort of happy. Some songs come very, very quickly. I like those ones. I like it when I catch myself before I've started to think about it, because I think that the mind just interferes with the creative process.
Please forgive me if I act a little strange, for I know now what I do feels like lightning running through my veins. Every time I look at you.
Was it a big sort of two-finger sign to all these record companies, or was it financial? What made you do it?
It was just the doing what we had to do at the time. We didn't think we were being clever, making a record. We weren't being anti anything. We were just doing what we had to do, and the fact was there wasn't any money. We had this little recording setup, and it was working. I like the fact it doesn't sound like a studio recording. It sounds like something else. It had a different atmosphere to it, a naturalness to it. So I mean, I thought, well, this is our sound.
Sail away with me, honey. I put my heart in your hand. Sail away with me, honey.
I remember someone saying to me, oh, you should go to Ireland, you know, you'd love it there. I think countless musicians just refer to Ireland as being a fantastic place to play, because the crowds are so up for it. You have like some of the best gigs of your life. So it proved for me, it was like the one place where my career took off.
crazy
And that's very much the Irish approach to music. I think they're passionate about it. And they don't go out thinking, oh, impress me. They go out and think, you've got soul or you haven't. If you've got soul, then we're going to give you ours. And it's like, let's see how far we can take it.
This is a new song and it's called Flame Turns Blue.
We're adding quite a lot of new material because we're so bored, basically. I think it's vital that you keep changing things. I mean, otherwise, what are you doing? I hate the sensation, above all things, that we're going out there to do a job to sell records. Now everyone talks about product, territories, units, and these are the artists that talk in these terms. Imagine when I first heard that in the 80s, I remember being horrified by the sort of, you're talking about music here, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And people. Yeah. And it's like, but that's how corporate everyone's got. It's cool these days to have your music in an advert. Man, I hate it. I'd never do it, and I think it's revolting.
Moving through the crowds, I'm pushing chemicals and rushing in my bloodstream.
I think music is sacred. It's sacred space, and there's nothing sacred about selling a car, you know, that's half manufactured in Mexico where someone's getting paid a pittance. There was someone out there who would die for this bit of music. You've touched them so deeply that they're going to play it at their wedding, or they're going to play it at the biggest moments in their life, and you're just selling it to some prick with a car advert. It's been great building this little thing. As much as the music has been brilliant, it's been brilliant as well for the people, the sort of all the oddball people that we are, like collected together. We've managed to do something without everyone else, and eventually we're playing the game, but not quite on their terms. Licensing the record, we're holding out for doing things our way, and there's a real sort of community kind of feel to it that feels brilliant. There's nothing better in life. Like I say, when you do things for nothing, it's the best buzz in the world. But it's great when you have to team together and it's just a little adventure, and you have to get out of it the kind of spiritual food rather than like massive financial benefit.
Thank you, and good night!
Thank you so much for that. That was my first interview. You were fantastic to talk to. Thank you.
No problem. Okay.
What you wear is who you are. Out of the metal bunker they come, and it could be Inter, it could be Real, because the kits are that good. Yes, immaculate. The keepers leaping like harlequins, clapping their gauntlets together in the cold. The captains gesturing already at phantasms that await down the touchline or across midfield. And the referee is in black, as if black was neutral. When was black ever neutral? And no linesman, it's not that important. The professionalism here is in the intent, in the ritualism of standing naked in that blockhouse, tightening that strap under your scrotum already shrunk red and wrinkled as a peach stone, then pulling the shirt over your head, fingering its strange insubstantiality, and the number on it, more important than your own name. For you are now 1, or 2, or 7, and you possess all the arcana of that number because you carry its spell out into the proven ground. You are branded with your number on Paradise Park, where the earth soon will be more pitted than the thin white daylight moon that rides the bay, by the fuselage of studs that iron hail, by men chasing their own lives across a white lime field and making such a spectacle that other men will come to stare. In their black fleeces, will come to judge in their black balaclavas. Men turned loose with time to kill, thinking that maybe this will be enough.
Come on!
Next week on Double Yellow, the A470, a roadrunner, a piece of squared fish, and one full moon. At the end of last year, the poet R.S. Thomas died. A celebration of his life and work was held at Westminster Abbey. I guess there's an element of a personal pilgrimage to it. It might seem on the surface that there'd be hardly any sort of link between me, 26, someone who's writing now in the 21st century, and this poet-priest who died aged 87. And to a certain extent, we're absolutely worlds apart. But I guess a poem is a very intimate place to be. And in that intimate place, R.S. Thomas was a voice that constantly spoke to me. That, R.S. Thomas's poems are going to be read by 4 really major British writers, some of the best poets from England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, and that being read in the grandeur of Westminster Abbey. On the one hand, it's brilliant, it's a real recognition of R.S. Thomas's work. On the other hand, I can't help feeling that it is slightly strange. I'd be intrigued to know what Thomas would think of it. He was a private person who placed himself very much on the margins of society and of the world of literature and poetry. And here he has been brought into the heart of poetry, and very sort of English heart as well, in Westminster Abbey.
The One Furrow. When I was young, I went to school with pencil and foot rule, sponge and slate, and sat on a tall stool at learning's gate. When I was older, the gate swung wide, clever and keen-eyed, in I pressed, but found in the mind's pride no peace, no rest.
Why are we having this reading for R.S. Thomas? Why is he a poet that it is important to recognise in this way?
I think it's appropriate to have a commemoration for R.S. Thomas in Westminster Abbey, not just because it's the place where poets of the English language who have entered the culture and are cherished in the culture and memory are laid. So there is that, the place is backlit with poetic authority and poetic light.
He was both a poet and also, of course, a priest as well. Do you think that that actual tension is essential?
The detachment of the pastor from his flock, and the detachment of the writer who has to rethink and see things again. I think it sits together quite well, as a matter of fact.
What is amazing is that when you've read a poem of his and you turn the light out and you try and go to sleep, you actually have to put the light on again and take another look, because it's so very disturbing. And you want to be able to remember the exact order of the words, partly because of the huge mystery that he leaves in your mind, and partly because of the magic order of the words with which he manages to lay this egg of mystery in your heart.
0. What time is it? Is it the hour when the servant of Pharaoh's daughter went down and found the abandoned baby in the bulrushes? The hour when Dido woke and knew Aeneas gone from her? When Caesar looked at the entrails and took their signal for the crossing of the dividing river? Is it that time when Aneurin fetched the poem out of his side and laid it upon the year's altar for the appeasement of envious gods? It is no time at all. The shadow falls on the bright land, and men launder their minds in it, as they have done century by century, to prepare themselves for the crass deed.
One of the wonderful things about tonight that we got a sense of Thomas himself picking up the torch that had been, or the baton that had been passed to him by Yeats and others, and then in turn of his poems being picked up by other poets as they move forward into our own new century.
There was something of the moorland solitary about Thomas, and he impressed by his complete authenticity as a reader. He is funny, actually. There's a kind of dryness. There's a poem called A Life somewhere, where he calls himself one of life's conscientious objectors. and he says, where two were company, he was an unwanted third, and so on. And of course, it's a kind of glum cheerfulness. It's attractive in that way.
Yeah.
Over a long writing life and over the length of a fat book of poems, there is strikingly little sense of repetition, and strikingly little sense of the question having been answered before. I mean, I think one of his greatest strengths indeed is to go on asking it apparently for the first time.
Yeah.
Where are you? What do I believe in? How do I put my hand on this?
Evans. Evans? Yes. Many a time I came down his bare flight of stairs into the gaunt kitchen with its wood fire, where crickets sang accompaniment to the black kettle's whine, and so into the cold dark to smother in the thick tide of night that drifted about the walls of his stark farm on the hill ridge. It was not the dark filling my eyes and mouth appalled me, not even the drip of rain like blood from the one tree, weather tortured. It was the dark, silting the veins of that sick man I left stranded upon the vast and lonely shore of his bleak bed. It was very important to me as a young writer, R.S. Thomas, because I sort of knew the people he was writing about, I felt.
Really?
Those Welsh parishioners. I grew up among people sparse of speech, sparse of gesture, untrusting of the world, and he got that.
My almost brother is incapable of anything doing. He climb car furniture, bike a ride, or video the set recorder. He speak calm words, lots of, but necessarily not in right order.